It was a dark, stormy night in Whitby. The sky cried with rain, and the sea hit the rocks hard. People ran inside as the wind screamed like a ghost outside their homes. In the middle of that storm, a ship came to shore. It was called the Demeter. The ship was empty. Only the captain was found, dead and tied to the wheel. There was no one else on the ship. No sailors, no helpers. Only the captain's book remained. It had strange words, full of fear and sadness about the last days. Right after the crash, a big black dog jumped from the ship and ran away. No one saw where it went. Some people saw it and felt cold in their hearts. The next day, people in town talked about the dog. It looked wild, they said. But dogs do not sail ships. What was this animal? And where did it come from? No one had answers. But something had changed in the air. A strange feeling stayed in Whitby. It was like something dark had arrived with that dog. Not long after, Lucy, a young woman in town, began to feel unwell. She was full of joy before, but now she looked weak, quiet, and sleepy during the day. At night, she would get up and walk outside while still asleep. Her friend Mina found her, barefoot under the moon, with two small red dots on her neck. Lucy's skin turned pale. No doctor could help her. What was making her like this? Her health got worse as nights passed, and the mystery grew deep. Lucy slept more during the day and walked outside at night without knowing it. She looked very pale and weak. Her body did not get better, only worse each day. Mina took great care of her. She stayed near Lucy at night. Lucy spoke in her sleep. Sometimes she cried. Mina stayed strong, but was also worried about Jonathan. Jonathan had not written in days. His last letters were strange and short. Mina felt afraid for him. She hoped he was safe and would explain everything soon. Dr. Seward came to help Lucy. He looked at her neck and face, but could not find the cause of her sickness. He watched her closely and felt worried as well. He then asked his old teacher, Van Helsing, to come. Van Helsing was smart and knew many things. After one look at Lucy, he asked for garlic to be brought. Van Helsing told Mina not to remove the garlic. He put it around Lucy's bed. He did not say much about the sickness, but his eyes showed deep fear and care. For some nights, Lucy felt better. She ate more and smiled. Mina thought the garlic was working. But one morning, Lucy looked very bad again and could not speak. Van Helsing was upset. Someone had taken the garlic away. He called it a big mistake. He gave Lucy new blood and stayed by her bed with Mina and Dr. Seward. Van Helsing asked many people to stay near Lucy. He acted like something dark was near. Mina did not understand, but she trusted Van Helsing's words and care. Mina got a letter that made her cry, but with joy. Jonathan was alive. He was in a hospital in Budapest. He had been very sick and weak, but safe now. Mina went to him at once. She held him and did not let go. They got married quietly at the hospital. Jonathan smiled, but a great fear still lived in his eyes. He gave Mina his journal and said, "Read this only if I lose my mind again." He did not want to speak of what he saw, but he wanted her to know the truth. Jonathan told Mina a little about where he had been. A big castle in a far land. A man with cold eyes and no soul. He had climbed walls like a spider. He said the man did not eat, did not sleep at night, and had no reflection. Jonathan now knew that he was not a man. He was something dark and old. Jonathan had tried to escape the castle. He had tricked the evil one and ran as fast as he could. He was found by kind people and taken to the hospital. While Jonathan and Mina were finally safe together, Lucy's days were ending. The garlic did not help anymore. Her skin was white as snow and cold to touch. Van Helsing stayed near her all the time. He tried hard to save her. He gave her new blood again, but nothing worked. Her breath got slower each night. Then one night, she did not wake up. Lucy was gone. Arthur cried by her side, but Van Helsing looked at her with a heavy face, as if he knew she was not at peace. Lucy was buried in the ground. Her friends cried and gave flowers. They thought she was now at peace. But Van Helsing did not think her story was finished. He visited her tomb at night. He brought garlic and crosses. He said they would keep her safe. The others did not understand, but he watched the place closely. Soon, children started going missing. They were found later in parks or graveyards looking pale, tired, and lost. They spoke of a nice woman in white calling to them. Van Helsing brought Arthur and the others to Lucy's tomb. It was late at night. They opened her coffin, but the inside was empty. Their eyes were full of fear. Then Lucy came back. She wore white and walked like a ghost. Her lips were red, and she called Arthur's name. He did not move. His heart broke from the pain. Van Helsing showed a cross. Lucy made a loud sound and ran away into the dark. Now they knew. This was not Lucy anymore. She was something else, a danger. The next day, they went again with heavy hearts. Van Helsing showed Arthur how to help Lucy. He had to stop her pain. He held her hand one last time. A wooden stake was used. It was hard, but Arthur put it through her heart. Lucy opened her eyes one more time. Her look was soft, and her face looked calm. She was free now. Her soul was no longer lost. They closed the coffin and stood in silence. They had tears in their eyes, but they knew she was truly at peace. Back in London, strange things started to happen. People found dead bodies with pale faces and no blood. The fear in the city began to grow day by day. No one saw the killer, but whispers spoke of a tall man with cold eyes. Some said he looked rich, but his face was pale, and he only came out at night. This man was Count Dracula. He had left his castle and now walked among people. But he did not come to make friends. He came to feed and bring fear. Van Helsing knew the signs. He called Jonathan, Mina, Arthur, and Quincy to meet him. They needed to talk about the new deaths and what to do next. He told them the truth. Dracula had come to London. He was the same monster that hurt Lucy. They had to stop him before more people were lost. The group listened closely. They were scared, but ready. They had all lost something because of Dracula. Now they wanted to work together and fight. Mina said she wanted to help too. She had read Jonathan's journal. She took notes and made papers of all they had learned. Her mind was strong and clear. She put the facts together like a puzzle. Her work helped the others understand Dracula better. Van Helsing said she was very smart and brave. Thanks to her notes, they found out where Dracula was staying. He had bought a big, dark house in London. From there, he moved across the city in secret. But Dracula had plans too. He had seen Mina. He liked her and wanted her under his power. He began to follow her without her knowing it. When Mina wrote at her desk, she sometimes felt cold eyes watching her. Strange dreams came at night. She saw red lights and flying shapes. Van Helsing warned her to never be alone. He asked her to stay in safe places only. He feared that Dracula was getting close and watching her moves. The group went to the house Dracula bought in London. It was old, cold, and full of dust. They found many wooden boxes filled with soil from his home. Van Helsing said Dracula must sleep in his home soil. That soil gave him power. They opened each box and placed holy objects inside to stop him. The group worked fast to stop Dracula. They knew he had more boxes in other places. They had to find all of them before he could hide and grow strong again. Even with the boxes gone, Dracula had another plan. He followed Mina and wanted her under his power. He watched her from the shadows each night. Mina felt cold and weak. She had evil dreams and marks on her skin. She did not know why she felt sick, but the others feared it was because of Dracula. Van Helsing stayed with Mina. One night, he heard a noise and ran in. Dracula was there. His mouth had blood. Mina screamed. Jonathan was on the ground. Mina cried and said Dracula made her drink his blood. Her lips were red. Her eyes were full of fear and pain. She was not the same as before. Van Helsing looked at her and said she was in danger. Dracula gave her his blood to make a link. Now, a part of him lived inside Mina. They were all shocked, but Van Helsing had hope. He thought this link could help them. With care, Mina might now be used to find Dracula's path. Mina now had a strange link with Dracula. Sometimes, when Van Helsing used hypnosis, she could feel where he was. She spoke of sea winds and water sounds. They used this power each day. When Mina was in a deep sleep, her voice told them what she saw. She spoke of waves, wooden floors, and cold air at night. By her words, the group learned Dracula was on a ship. He had left London. He was going back to his home in far Transylvania across the sea. Van Helsing made a plan. The group would not wait. They would follow Dracula and meet him before he reached his castle. The time to stop him had come. The group split into smaller parts. Mina and Van Helsing would take the land path. The others, Jonathan, Arthur, and Quincy, would race by river and train. They hoped to reach the castle before Dracula. It was a hard plan, but they were brave and ready. Each person was strong, and Mina gave them hope. The road was long and cold. Snow began to fall. Mina sat close to Van Helsing as they moved over hills and through small forests on old wagons. At night, Van Helsing made a fire. He put garlic near their bed and watched the dark with care. Wolves howled around the camp, but dared not come close. Each morning, Mina woke from her trance and gave more clues. Her voice told them Dracula was near. The cold wind pushed them to move faster. Jonathan and the others moved fast. They crossed rivers and climbed rough roads. Jonathan did not sleep much. His eyes were on fire with purpose. They reached a town near the castle first. They waited outside its gate in silence. They knew Dracula was near and the end of the chase had come. Soon, a small group of men came pulling a box in a wagon. They did not know it held Dracula. The sun was low. The group rushed forward to stop it. Dracula's box was almost at the castle, but the group jumped into the path. A fight started between Dracula's men and those trying to stop him. Jonathan was fast. He broke the box open with a sharp tool. As the sun rose, Dracula was inside, eyes closed. His face looked both young and old. Jonathan hit him with a knife. Quincy gave a final push. Dracula let out a cry and turned to dust. The fight was over, and the dark part was gone. Mina felt the moment Dracula died. The link inside her was gone. Her eyes grew clear, and her face showed peace. The group held her hand with joy. But joy came with loss. Quincy had been hurt badly. He smiled, saying the fight was worth it. He closed his eyes, and they were full of proud tears. The group stood in quiet. One by one, they looked up at the sky. Light had won. The monster was gone. But their bond would stay forever. After Dracula was gone, the group sat together in the snow. It was cold, but their hearts felt warm. They knew that the dark days were now behind them. Mina looked up at the sky and smiled. She was free. The fear inside her was no more. The power Dracula had on her was gone with him forever. They all talked about what had happened. They had lost friends, but had also found strength. Their friendship and love gave them the courage to go on. Van Helsing said one thing to the group. He said, "We had no magic, only care for each other. That is what made us strong against the dark thing. They did not win with only tools or garlic. They won because they worked as one." Jonathan was brave. Arthur stood tall. Quincy gave all. Mina was the heart of the group. She was smart and kind, even when things were scary. Van Helsing said her mind was the light in the dark. As the snow melted, they made ready to go home. Each person felt a mix of feelings, sad for what they lost, but also happy for what they still had. They wanted to take rest, but also tell their story. Mina wrote many pages. She said, "People must learn that darkness can hide in quiet places." Van Helsing agreed. He said evil can look like a man, speak kind words, and still be a danger. It was good they knew the truth and lived to tell it. The world did not change because of one night, but the group saw things in new light. They knew that dark things might come again one day. But as long as good people stay strong, care for each other, and are not silent, then the dark cannot win. There is always hope in the light. This tale was not just about fear. It was about light, love, and how people with brave hearts can beat the coldest night and bring back the morning.